Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brews with Brian, a craft beer review podcast. Craft beer is beer that is brewed in smaller breweries, not these big corporate machine breweries that we're all aware of. Craft beer is made with patience and time, and the people that make this stuff care about the product they deliver to us, the consumer. I got into craft beer 2 or 3 years ago, and it's totally changed my outlook on the beer world. There is indeed a light and a dark side. The light side consisting of craft beer with its many flavors and complexities. The dark side consisting of the big box corporate machine beer that most of us probably have had, typically in college or at parties. But the craft beer world changes everything. On today's episode, I'm reviewing Expedition Stout from Bell's Brewing, Fistful of Cake from Monday Night Brewing, and Push Pop Party Nitro from Left Handed Brewing. So let's kick this show off. And first up on today's show, we have Expedition Stout. Expedition Stout is from Bell's Brewery out of Comstock, Michigan, and it has an ABV of 10.5%, and it's available during the winter months. The description from the website says, Expedition Stout offers immensely complex flavors crafted specifically with vintage aging in mind, as its profile will continue to mature and develop over the years. A huge malt body is matched to a heady blend of chocolate, dark fruits, and other aromas. Intensely bitter in its early months, the flavors will slowly meld and grow in depth as the beer ages. This beer pours a pitch black color like motor oil, with a massive dark tan, almost brown head of foam. The head percolates like a nitro beer would. It's one of the most amazing pours you'll ever see. Aromas of chocolate, both lighter, sweeter milk, and dark bitter. A faint note of old burnt hops is there as well. Tasting this beer, you get bitter, dark malt up front, with baker's chocolate, espresso, brown sugar, and a hint of bold red wine that gets cut off by the dark malt bitterness. Occasionally, the chocolate flavors get sweeter, moving from baker's to dark to a hint of milk chocolate. This beer has a thick, oily, well-carbonated mouthfeel. At times, you'll feel like you could eat it with a knife and a fork. But it's beer, so you can't. There is a nice break from the thickness from time to time, a fun complexity, and more often than not, exactly what you expect from this style. Overall, this is an outstanding, world-class Russian Imperial Stout, and I wouldn't expect anything less from Bell's. If you're a fan of this style, you will love this one, I promise. I would even age this beer for a while, if possible, just to see what other kinds of flavors and the complexities that pop up in this thing as it ages. Bell's have done it again. Like I said, world-class beer. Gotta try it. But overall, I'm giving Expedition Stout from Bell's Brewing Company 5 stars. And next up on this episode, we have Fistful of Cake from Monday Night Brewing out of Atlanta, Georgia. Fistful of Cake has an ABV of 9%, and it's got a rotating availability. The description from the website says, inspired by the classic opera cake, this Imperial Stout is thick and decadent. We used coffee and a budget-breaking amount of vanilla beans to complement the roasty and rich base stout. Channel your inner one-year-old and go to town on this one. This beer pours a dark chocolate brown, but rests in the glass essentially black. The initial dense cap of khaki foam settles, leaving a thin, full collar and a few smallish trails of lace. Aromas of coffee, cocoa, cream, and cooked sugar are there. Tasting this beer, you get a roastiness with a pleasant, mild bitterness that plays well with a considerable sweetness. over toasted fudge, vanilla creamed coffee, burnt caramel, malted milk, and a faint grassiness with a little bit of alcohol. It has a creamy, full feel with fairly light carbonation. The long, sticky, sweet aftertaste is like vanilla macchiato. This is a wonderful Imperial Stout from Monday Night Brewing, and it's one of my favorite Imperial Stouts there is. Check out Monday Night Brewing. Anything they do, it's always fantastic. Props to them. But overall, I'm giving Fistful of Cake from Monday Night Brewing 5 stars. And our last beer on today's show, Push Pop Party Nitro from Left Hand Brewing Company out of Longmont, Colorado. Push Pop Party Nitro has an ABV of 5.4% and a rotating availability. The description from the website says, remember when an ice cream truck would sing through your street and your mouth would instantly start watering for a cool push pop treat? You'd race out your front door with your eye on the prize, and you couldn't wait to bust open that ice cream surprise. Well, we captured that moment and brewed it for you. Now you can indulge in Push Pop Party Nitro, a hazy citrus ale that ignites childhood joy. With notes of orange and lime, a hint of sweetness, and a silky smooth finish, you can pop this Nitro party and decide to never grow up. This beer pours a creamy orange color with a creamy white head that sticks around and leaves behind some lacing. Aromas of tons of citrus, orange, and lime are prevalent. Some cream in there as well. It smells like an orange dreamsicle. Now, tasting this beer, it follows the nose. You get lots of citrus, orange, and especially lime. Some sugary soft cream and vanilla is in there, along with some pale malts and wheat. Medium to full-bodied with a light amount of carbonation. Creamy and smooth, but like a lot of Nitro beers, it leaves a watery mouthfeel. Overall, the flat, watery mouthfeel and the addition of lime really turned me off on this beer. It almost starts to give me the vibe of like a Bud Light with lime, which is not a good thing at all. I think it's an interesting idea to try, but it just really didn't work out so well for me here. Left Hand has some other fantastic beers. Sadly, this just was not one of them. Overall, I'm giving Push Pop Party Nitro from Left Hand Brewing Company 2 stars. And that is it for this week's episode of Brews with Brian. I want to thank everybody for listening. The show continues to grow each and every week. On today's episode, I reviewed Expedition Stout from Bell's Brewing, Fistful of Cake from Monday Night Brewing, and Push Pop Party Nitro from Left Handed Brewing. You can check the show out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcasts. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.